This guy was all over me on the first date, then dumped me on the next day. Is this normal or am I being played? Okay, so I went on this date with a guy I met on a dating app. Not too long after we matched, he asked me to FaceTime. We hit it off immediately, FaceTime for an hour and a half. He's given me tons of compliments, etc. Then right after, we decided to meet up. Again, tons and tons of compliments, saying that I was so interesting more than other girls in a positive way. I gave him compliments too in return, and I meant it, not because he did it. We went to my place and hooked up. This is not my normal intention because I want to wait normally, but it just felt so good and so pure. And I was convinced that this wasn't the last time because of the way he was acting. Then the next day came and he started to act distant. He then texted me later saying that he thought we were too different in character and personality to start something serious. I know it's just one date, I don't know him that well, but I'm just shook. I thought the date went pretty well, at least it being a good base for a few follow-up dates. Well, OP, I'm going to teach you a little secret about something that you may not know, and that is public data check. I think this is a good hack for anybody that's going on a first date because you don't know the person. You don't know if they have a criminal history. You don't know if they have a reputation for, getting around with all the ladies, if you know what I mean. But with public data check, you can do unlimited background checks. I think that this is a perfect option so that you're not going into it blindly. They're private and anonymous, and you can also do a reverse phone lookup. Public data check has got you covered. I mean, what is better than that? So if you're meeting someone new, you're doing online dating, or even let's say Craigslist sales, you found something that you want to buy, I highly, highly recommend public data check to make sure that you ensure your safety because it's a crazy world out there. You never know what can happen. So be sure to check out public data check. I personally recommend it, and stay safe out there.
I'm pro-life, but feel like my life has gone downhill ever since Roe overturned. My fiance left me, and my family no longer talks to me. I lost about 70% of my friends, and the ones I do have barely talk to me. I'm being ignored at work now because my coworkers saw me at a party drinking and blowing up fireworks to celebrate the overturn. What hurts the most is that my little sister, who I've helped raise, no longer wants a relationship with me. Every time I post something vaguely pro-life, she comments and says that I should either get a vasectomy or shut up. I always respond with I can't because I'll be giving her a niece or a nephew someday, and that she should be thankful for that, and she should be ashamed for shutting out her big brother. But unfortunately, I cannot find a decent woman around here. They always ghost me or tell me off for being pro-life. I miss walking next to someone. Don't get me wrong, I'm still content with Roe being overturned, but it cost me everything. Babies are being saved, and I'm so glad about that, but it doesn't change the fact that I miss how my life was before the overturn. Guess you could say that I'm punching the air right now.
This FedEx driver murdered this little girl after accidentally hitting her with his van. On November 30th, 2022, a 31-year-old FedEx driver named Tanner Lynn reversed his van and hit 7-year-old Athena Strand after delivering a package to her home. Tanner told investigators that Athena wasn't really harmed after being hit by his van, but he panicked and strangled her when she threatened to tell her father. It's still unknown why Athena was outside at that time, since her family said that she was terrified of the dark and would not have been wandering out alone. Her father and stepmother reported her missing after they noticed that she was missing from her room. And after investigating, they noticed that Athena went missing around the same time that Tanner delivered the package. 2 days later, Tanner confessed to murdering Athena, and he took investigators to where her body was alongside the Trinity River in Texas. Tanner was charged with capital murder and aggravated kidnapping and is now being held at a $1.5 million bond.
This one reads, my husband and I have been together for 4 years. I love him very much. Even now that I want a divorce, I still love him. I found out about 3 months ago about his colleague when I visited his office and she was there. Apparently, they've been working together for 5 years and are very good friends, and yet I'd never heard about her before. Something didn't feel right at all. After meeting her, I was paying more attention to his texting habits, and it turns out all he does is text her almost every evening, a few times a day on weekends, or when he's working from home or on holiday. I asked my husband why I'd never heard about this good friend of his, and he said it's because we rarely talk about his work since I never understood his field. I hate playing games, so I told him it was still odd that I've never heard about someone who he is in daily contact with. He gave me his phone and said that their communication comes in waves when she's having troubles at home. I read their conversations and it was a lot of joking around and calling each other cute names, as well as her complaining about her sex life. This is odd behaviour, very, very odd. There were also texts where she asks him intimate questions about me, like her asking if I threw a good birthday party for him. It was on June 14th. There's this text stuck with me because he was texting her at the party and she answered, "You must be bored at your own party or you wouldn't be texting me instead of being with her." I told him that I found this back and forth texting inappropriate and I considered it flirting. That is accurate, that is fact. He was taken aback, but he said he would stop if it bothered me so much. A month later, gradually, it had started again, and I've showed him that I'm not happy about it. This time, he came home with her. Let her reassure me that nothing is happening between them. She was very ironic and disrespectful. He was smirking and basically telling me that if I had low self-esteem and felt threatened by their friendship, it was my fault. When she left, I told my husband that I never wanted to see or hear anything from or about her anymore, and that if he would rather have her as a friend than me as a wife, then he should just say so. They stopped texting. We had a 3-week long vacation in Santorini. She texted him 2 or 3 times a day. He would answer her at the end of the day when I was in the shower. When I asked him why they were texting again, he said she had marriage problems. I asked him if he was a marriage counsellor on top of his other job, and he just laughed it off. When we came back home from Santorini, we still had 1 week left of time off work. We went out for dinner and a movie. Convinced she knew about our plans because she happened to be at the same restaurant later. We exchanged hellos and she asked us if we wanted to join her and her husband for dinner. I said yes. He was very pleasant, apparently, and asked about our holiday, touching my husband in a friendly way, and asked how it was with them, because I've heard from my husband that they were having marriage problems. All 3 froze. Her husband said, "What? Who said that?" I answered the husband and said, "Well, it was my husband who told me." My husband tried to explain with some dumb excuse, but I replied, "But you showed me the text she sent every day about her having problems. Sorry if I got the wrong idea." She looked very angry. When we got home, he told me that I was out of line, but I had had enough by then. I asked him if they'd slept together, and he said only once before he met me. I told him that I wanted a divorce because I'm thinking they're having an affair, at least an emotional one. He denied it and called me silly for wanting a divorce. Okay, now I've been thinking about it for 2 weeks, and I'm adamant about my decision. I want a divorce. I've spoken to my mother about everything I've written here. She thinks I'm making a big fuss about nothing. My in-laws have heard about me asking for a divorce from my husband, and they also think I'm making a big fuss. I haven't told anyone else because I'm not prepared to hear how immature and rushed my decision is. He's tried to talk about compromise, that he will stop being her friend. He said that he'd be happy to get marriage counselling and even find another job, but my gut is telling me something is very, very off and that marriage shouldn't be this hard, especially this early.
I'm at the Asa for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral. We're all in our 40s and she recently died. I've been with him for 10 years and he's known her for 20 plus years. The way that he describes their relationship is that they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, and then realized they weren't a great couple and then decided just to be friends. And he was clear very on from our relationship that she was very important to him. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife, and he tried to explain that it was clearly platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to her, and he said if I had really big issues with it, that he would choose her. And that's just something I have to be okay with. And throughout our relationship, I kind of just sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social with her. She just understood parts of him that I couldn't. She died after they had lunch, and when I found out, I was honestly relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning, and I said, "You don't think you're going, do you?" My argument is basically she's dead and not a factor anymore, and he doesn't need to use that "she's my friend" excuse, and he already had his cry out for a couple of days. He replied saying that he's going no matter how I feel, and he's willing to let our relationship burn. Everyone's calling me insensitive.
We gotta stop with the unsafe BBLs and butt injections and any major surgeries. We gotta stop that. This woman went in for butt injections but left with no hands and feet. Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. April Brown was in the beauty industry for 30 years and she owned her own salon. She was insecure about her butt and wanted it to be bigger. Every time she seen a woman with a big butt, she would say, "I'ma get me one of those when I get some money." But she never actually went through with it because she was scared. Until one day a woman walked into her salon to get her hair done, and April and her started talking, and eventually they started talking about butt injections. This woman told April that she did butt injections for the low, and I mean cheap. That woman also came to the salon with a friend and told her friend to stand up and say, "Look at her, I did her butt injections and look how good her butt looks." So April was convinced, like, this is for me. Unfortunately, April thought this was a woman sent by God. She thought God knew that she wanted a big butt and God sent her this woman. So she thought, okay, so if it's in God's hands, I don't need to do any research. She trusted the woman and went to her home to get her butt injected with silicone. After the first injection, April started feeling weird and asked her to stop. Unfortunately, this was silicone found at the hardware store, so like a bathroom sealant. April then got a staph infection, and unfortunately, she had to cut off her hands and feet in order to save her life. Do your research, guys, even if you think it's sent from God.